Hey, what's up, everyone? You are watching or listening to the My Comic Book Journey podcast. I'm your host, KNDY, and today's episode we're going to talk about Fantastic Four, issue number 34, that came out back in January 1965 from Marvel Comics. So, this one was written by Stan Lee, illustrated by Jack Kirby, and inker Chick Stone, and letterer was Artie Simek. So, let's go ahead and check out the cover real quick. Friend against friend, brother against sister. If you always thought it could never happen, you can't afford to miss a house divided. And just looking at that, can you make, well, can you guess what makes Gideon the most powerful foe of all? And just look at that little thing in the bottom with a bald head, Lex Luthor style. Anyway, for those who have been reading Marvel miniseries such as Annihilation and Secret Wars, discovered a character known as Glorian, who is planning to rebuild the universe with the help of the Shaper of Worlds after the events in Battleworld. The character Glorian was actually Thomas Gideon, a character who first appeared as a young teenager and a big fan of the Fantastic Four in issue number 34. In this issue from January 1965 of Fantastic Four, we are introduced by a cold multi-billionaire named Gregory Gideon. All Gregory wants is to make more money, and often deprives any time to be with his family for the sake of making more money. More money, more money, more money. And when discussing with various people all over the world, they make a bet with Mr. Gideon. Gideon wants something to accomplish in 1 week's time. If he wins, various leaders must sell their companies to him immediately, and if he fails, he will give up his plans for world domination. And with so much money, Gideon turns the Fantastic Four against each other, convincing Ben that Reed is a super squirrel that is, not squirrel, while convincing Johnny that his sister is being manipulated by the puppet master. As the Thing fights with Reed and Johnny fights his sister, he manages to get a moving team to get into the Baxter building and steal technology from Reed Richards. Meanwhile, as Gideon's young son Thomas and his mother Claire want to spend time with him, the father, Mr. Gideon, he is more intent of focusing on destroying the Fantastic Four, which he finds out that his son is a big fan of the superhero group. While Mr. Gideon is accomplishing his goal of defeating the Fantastic Four, his young son overhears from his father telling the business military leaders all over the world that he is close to defeating the Fantastic Four and their companies will be bought out. Meanwhile, he has a scientist utilizing Reed Richard and Doctor Doom's technology to time displace anyone. Little Thomas runs out and hopes to warn the Fantastic Four, but when Gideon's men use their traps meant for the Fantastic Four on Thomas, Gideon sees in the camera that they put young Thomas through the time displacement machine and that he's in big trouble. Mr. Gideon regrets for what he has done, and now he's begging for Reed Richards to help bring his son back. While this issue was fascinating, the fact that the Gideon family play a part in issues, 134 and 136, again in 134 and 136 in 1973, the characters return in the Untold Tales of Spider-Man, issue to number 21. While an entertaining story, it was interesting to see a villain that uses his money, not special powers, but his billions of dollars to outwit his adversaries. But yeah, in that aspect, I guess you could say it's worth checking out. Something different, I suppose. But yeah, that is Fantastic Four, issue number 34. So it's kind of interesting when you think about Reed and Ben fighting each other. Because when you think about it, is that Ben is super strong, but Reed is pretty much, I mean, he could pretty much become anything stretchy and reflect that kinetic energy right back. While the Human Torch versus Sue, brother and sister, while you know Johnny, of course, has that super flame, we know that Sue can pretty much encase him and snuff that oxygen right out and hurting him. So I think we've seen that happen many times before. But for the most part, again, interesting issue to see the Fantastic Four members fighting each other once again, but also a intro to Gideon. Okay, everyone, you take care, and I will see you later. Wink, wink, and